We're installing some coilovers on the BRZ today. What? So with all the additional power that we're gonna be giving to the BRZ, it's gonna need a little bit stiffer suspension. Right now the car has some, I think, H&R lowering springs on it. It came with the car when I bought it. So today, let's put some coilovers on the car. Now, generally, I do wanna say I always go with Fortunato 500, but I wanted to try something a little bit different because Yellow Speed USA, I guess, or Yellow Speed Racing has been like starting to make a name for themselves. So I am curious to see how these coilovers handle, how they perform, the daily drivability aspect of them. But I don't know, we'll see how they do on the car. We're not gonna be making any adjustments to the coilovers today outside of preload adjustment because I do have the new wheels showing up for the car tomorrow. So when we get the wheels for the car, we're gonna be making all the adjustments to the suspension to be able to get it all like dialed in perfectly, just because I don't wanna be making adjustments today and then changing them all tomorrow. It just saves more time to just do them all in one day, so. I have never made a coilover video for you guys, so today is the day that we're doing a coilover video. Hallelujah. So let's get this camera thrown up on the overhead mount on the bench. We'll go over the coilovers a little bit and then we'll start getting them thrown on the car. I think my game plan here is to start with the rears and then go up and do the fronts just to get them knocked out in more of a systematic way. Plus, after I get the rears on the car, I can back the car up in the garage a little bit more to make a little bit more room for us to be able to work up in here. But I'm excited, so let's start getting into these. These are the Yellow Speed Racing coilovers that everyone and their mothers has been talking about running. I've never used them before. Generally, I stick to Fortunato 500s, but these ones were a little bit cheaper, and with going with the whole turbo setup on the BRZ, I needed to save a little bit of money somewhere. So with the coilovers, this will be our front coilover for the BRZ. They do have adjustable top hats to be able to adjust camber on the car, which is something that I was 100% adamant about retaining. The rear coilovers, they're rear coilovers. There's nothing really special about them. They're no adjustability on the top hats because you adjust that on the rear LCA. The spring rate on these, I have no idea. I'll link information on these down in the description below. But in the bag, you also get some good stuff. So they do provide a adjustability. They do provide instructions if you don't know how to install, if you don't know how to install coilovers. But I'm going to be showing you how to do that. They give you an interesting sticker, which is probably going to go in the bin because I don't ever keep stickers. We have 2 spanner wrenches for the coilovers as well, which I would expect to get. Then this is interesting. So the dampening knobs, I've never seen dampening knobs this long. Generally, they're pretty short, but I guess these go all the way into the gas tube. I'm guessing the longer ones are gonna be for the fronts, the shorter ones are gonna be for the rears. But interesting that they're so incredibly long. I haven't ever seen that before, and now I'm dropping them. So we're gonna get going on setting preload on these coilovers, getting them thrown in the car. I think we're gonna start with the fronts and then do the backs, or we'll do the backs and do the fronts. It doesn't really matter to me as long as we're doing one side at a time. But let's get these thrown in the car. This will not be a review video. The review video will be coming after I've had these on the car for a couple days, so that way I can kind of see how they feel. But overall, let's get them thrown in the car. All right, well, I'm about 2 minutes into the install and I'm already a little bit disappointed with these instructions that they give you. So apparently the spring preload is preset from the factory. They don't say what it is though, and I want to know. So like, what is the spring load preset on these? Like, tell me, please, put it in your instructions. Also, these dampening knobs, I looked in the instructions. I have no idea why this one is like stupid long. I think it's for the rear, so you don't need like extenders, but I'm gonna trim that because I think that it's dumb. I don't want this thing to sit up like 3 inches off of the back of the coilover. Like, why? So I'm probably gonna trim it to be the same length as these smaller ones, so that way they sit more flush in the coilover, because that makes more sense to me and it looks better. But I'm being a little judgmental right off the bat. So I'm gonna start with the rear end of the car. Make sure that you're jacking up both sides of it, because you don't want one side to be higher than the other side, because the sway bar is gonna start pulling down on the lower control arms on the opposing sides, and it's gonna make it really annoying to try to get these coilovers up and in the car. So I'm gonna get the car jacked up, get both back wheels pulled off of the car. Once both of them are pulled off of the car, we're gonna pop the trunk, we're gonna pull out the trunk liner, and then from that point, I'll kind of start telling you guys what to do more from there. But coilovers are pretty easy and straightforward to install. So let's see how this goes. Right there you can see it, the factory strut with the H&R spring on it. So those are what's going to be coming out. Now these are really easy to pull out. Down here on the bottom, you've got the nut that we're not even going to touch that one. Don't even touch that nut right there. We've got a 17 millimeter that holds the actual strut assembly to the LCA. We have a 14 millimeter that holds the end link to the LCA. And then way back there in the back of this end link to the rear subframe is a ooh, what is that? It's a 17 millimeter that holds the LCA up. So we're just gonna take out those three and then swing the LCA down, so that way we're able to pull this strut out. And then after we've got those bolts out up top, I'm gonna keep the spare tire out because I really have no point for it anymore. Up here behind the mat right there, you can see two 12 millimeter bolts that hold the top hat to the I guess chassis of the car. Just pull those out, it drops right out. It's really not terribly hard to do. Now, while I'm in here, I'm going to clean things up a bit because everything down in here just looks disgustingly gross. After seeing those LCAs, it makes me want to order some white line ones or a similar brand just to be able to adjust our rear camber, which I think I might actually order today to go with the LCAs. And some rear tow arms, so that way we can do our own alignment here in the garage. But I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna pull out both of these. So we're not gonna be making any adjustments to these outside of just matching the height on both of them. I don't wanna make any adjustments to them because once we get the actual new wheel and tire setup on the car, we're gonna have to adjust all of this anyways. So I just wanna make sure that the height on both of the coilovers is the same. The preset's been set from the factory, so I shouldn't have to be messing with any of that, but I do wanna measure it just to make sure that they are the same, so that way we don't have any deviance between one or the other. But for preload, I'm just gonna measure spring compression. So on this one, we've got 177.75. On this one, we should have the exact same. They're close enough for preload. So preload's pretty matched on both of these. Now to make sure height is good, we have 19.3 and ooh, not matched. So we've got 19 on that one and we have 18.28 on that one. So let's go ahead and match those up. There we go. All right, so both rear coilovers are now adjusted to the same height. I'm not gonna put these locking collars like all the way on until we get them in the car because I'm gonna have something hold this lower joint while I'm tightening them. So we're gonna get these in. It's the same process as before. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do the unto top bolts first. We're gonna get these mounted up to the chassis of the car, and then we'll start reassembling the bottom portion. And it's honestly just the exact opposite of taking out the old ones as it is putting in the new ones. So the rears are on. Overall, not too bad to install, same as uninstalling. I do suggest putting a jack, like I was using that one, to jack up the lower control arm to get everything to line up a lot easier. But hey, it's in there, not too bad. Now, when you are getting these in, remember to tighten down the lower collar with the spanner wrench provided. They also put these like nice 1/2-inch grooves in it, so that way you can use a actual like ratcheting wrench to tighten it down if you want to. But that guy is not going anywhere. So now that both rears are on the car, I'm gonna get the wheels put back on, get it set back down. Like I said, I'm not doing any adjustments to these coilovers quite yet because I do get the new wheels for the car tomorrow, and these are going to be going on the girlfriend's Impreza, so hopefully she enjoys these. I would like to take the TPMS sensors out of these, but I have no idea if the new wheels will be able to support TPMS sensors, so we will find out. Let's get the wheels put back on, get the car set on the ground, and see how the rear end looks, and then we'll jump up to the fronts and get the fronts knocked out. It will be pretty much the exact same process as this. Oh geez, it's much lower. Oh boy, that toe is all sorts of screwed too. Okay, so I can tell you right now I'm not gonna be driving the car for a day or two because that alignment is so screwed. It is towed in, cambered. That needs to get fixed. This side is cambered as well. It is significantly lower than what I wanted. I can tell you that much right now because that is like stupid low compared to what it is up here. Like if you look up here, there's like actual wheel gap right there. Back there, none. It's like bloop, gone. So let me hit up Brian, see if he has tow arms and lower rear control arms, because I gotta get that fixed now. More money. So the fronts aren't too much different. We're gonna end up taking the top hat bolts off after we get the car jacked up. There's 2 bolts down there that hold the actual coilover to the knuckle, and then there's also the end link bolt up here. Let me get the front end of the car jacked up. We'll get the coilovers on in the front, but after seeing the drop that it had in the rear, I'm a little worried about the drop it's gonna have in the front. So the front passenger side coilover is in, as you can see there, really easy to put in. Just a couple of bolts down low, the end link, the brake line, and then up top, it's just the top hat, which is just these 3 12mm bolts. Now when you're putting this in, make sure that the top hat is going like, just make sure it's going this way, so that way this actually adjusts camber and you're not like doing some weird stuff with the wheels. So not bad to install. And then here is the Yellow Speed Racing one versus the stock strut. Right now it's pretty much just set to the exact same height. Like I said, I'm not gonna be adjusting any of these until we get the wheels in, just because there's honestly no point of adjusting the suspension. 2 wheels that we're not keeping on the car. Not gonna lie, I'm a little salty right now. So I just got out the front driver's OEM strut thing. Sorry, I'm like all conjabbled right now. Firstly, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you work in a shop. I don't care if you work in a garage like I do. I don't care where you work if you work on a car. Don't use an impact on something that doesn't need an impact. You just break things, you strip bolts, you put them in way too tight, they never come out, you just round the corners, just whoever had this car before me, I'm gonna find you, I'm gonna strip all the bolts on your car, coming for you. So I'm not overly mad, because I'm annoyed. I'm very annoyed at the moment, just from whoever had the car before me, because I already have to order rear lower control arms now. I have to order rear tow arms. Now I need to order front end links. Oh my God, come on. Because whoever had this car before me decided it would be a good idea to use an impact on that. A, you don't need to, it's an end link, it doesn't see a lot of torque. Secondly, you have to put a hex key on the top of it to be able to tighten that and loosen that in. So I don't even know how you did that with an impact, but Jesus, it's never coming off now. So your dude is a little annoyed at that. So, I mean, there's not much else I can do today. There's nowhere local that has FRS BRZ end links in stock. So I'm gonna get this strut thrown back in. We'll get the car put back on the ground, and then in the garage it will sit, because we cannot do anything with it. It needs an alignment very bad. My fault for not ordering those parts, but this was a sporadic purchase of coilovers, so I mean, oops. Secondly, I need to get the end links to be able to like drive the car hard. Like I can drive it without having front end links in the car. I would just take them both out, so the sway bar just kind of dangles a little bit, but that's not really my style. I'd rather just let the car sit until I get all the parts in. So let's throw in this last coilover. Let's get the car back on the ground, and then I'll gripe about this later, I guess. You know, it'll be fine. Everything's fine. The coilovers are now on the car. I can't really do anything else until I get the wheels, the tires, the front end links, the rear lower control arms, and the rear tow arms on the car to get it aligned, to get everything set up properly. But just after going on the install, this is the first time I've ever used Yellow Speed Racing coilovers or any of their products. I don't like to lie to you guys, and I like to be very straightforward and honest with the purchases that I buy and the parts that I put on the car. So there's a couple other companies out there when it comes to the FRS BRZ that send you front end links with the car. Really wish that Yellow Speed Racing would have done that. I would have been just fine paying an extra X amount of money to have front end links included in the kit. Just like I went through, you guys saw somebody like sent that one end link bolt straight onto that coilover, or straight onto that OEM strut, and that thing is never coming off again. It is rounded, it is done, it has lived its life. And if we would have had front end links sent with the kit like some of these other companies out there do, wouldn't have been an issue, wouldn't have been a problem at all. So I mean, yeah, it's not a make it or break it for me. The rear extenders for the back of the coilovers, I don't like them personally. Apparently you can buy separately the ones with like the noodle arm thing where they bend around a little bit. The ones back there that they give you are just like a rod of aluminum. They're gonna damage really easily. I already know that. Just if I put stuff in the trunk and something bumps it, it's gonna bend it. So I'm gonna figure something out to do with those. Also, wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra to have them be bendy rear extenders for the dampening adjustment in the rear of the car. And then outside of that, I think just a little more detailed instructions. Just giving more information about the coilovers would be a nice addition to the set. But outside of that, I mean, they installed like any other set of coilovers would. I'm gonna show you guys the car here in a minute. I've made no adjustments to these coilovers. Like I said, I'm not going to make any adjustments to the height or anything like that until I get the wheels on the car, so that way I can get everything properly set up the first time, so I'm not doubling back a couple times. But overall, I'd say they're so far decent coilovers from installing them on the car. I have no idea how they handle yet, so my opinion on them is still unfinished. But just after the install and seeing what's included with the coilovers, I think there's room for improvement with them. But let's take a look at the BRZ and see just what the factory specs look like, because I'm gonna tell you now, it looks a little funky. So this is without adjusting any of the height. We raised the car in the front, unintentionally speaking. The rears are like slammed in comparison to the front though. Like if you look at the rears, they're tucking hard and the fronts are just like poking out up there. So we have a decent amount of adjusting to do. I also went through and I threw on the dampening knobs for the front and the rear. Another thing I don't like is how there's no set screw for these, so anyone could come up to your car and steal this if they wanted to. Be nice to have a set screw in it, but you know, my hood will be hopefully closed the entirety of the time. We'll see how long I decide to keep them, depending on how they perform. Once I get the car aligned, the new wheels and tires on the car, we'll take it up to the mountains. We'll see how these coilovers actually handle for driving, but I'm hoping that they handle good. I mean, I can modify these to put a set screw in these to be able to lock them in place, so no one can just come up and be like, hey, free dampening adjustment knob. Those are the only things that I don't like about the install of these so far that I've seen is no set screw. The rear ones are too long, end links are not included, and the instructions could be a little more detailed with just information about the coilovers, but I'm not happy with them. So I mean, I am curious to see how they perform in the performance aspects of them, like everyone else has been saying, so we'll see what they do. So like I said, just those couple things. I wouldn't mind paying a little extra money to have those additions in the kit. I don't know how some of you guys feel, but I assume you guys would feel a similar way because you're spending a lot of money on coilovers. You want to make sure that you're getting a set that you're happy with. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. In the next one, we'll be putting the we'll be doing the wheel and tire unveil. I actually already have the tires here. The wheels get dropped off tomorrow. We'll go get them mounted. We'll get them thrown on the car. We'll get the height adjusted on the car, and then we can start adjusting the toe and the rear camber and the front camber to get everything kind of lined up. I'll show you guys how I do my own DIY alignments. I'm going to tell you now, they're not 100%, but they do work. But with that, that's all I got for you guys in this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and turn it blue like the Subaru. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, which your boy would greatly appreciate. If you were, I'll do it in one of these corners. Don't know which one I'm going to put it in quite yet. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.